The Agenda with Michael Knight on News Radio 560 KPQ and KPQ.com.
Just about 12 minutes past the hour, 84 degrees outside. And inside, let's meet our special guest, Zachary Miller, candidate for the Chelan County Commissioner's position number 2 and first-time candidate, but not the first time you've been here. We've met before, haven't we?
Yes, I was here last year to talk about tall timber and summer camps.
Well, we can get back to that at the end of our interview, but let's talk about what changed your mind one day about what you wanted to do with your life, because you've made a decision that's cost you, well, your freedom for now, right? You're a candidate.
Yes, I am a candidate for Chelan County Commissioner. It's something that I've been thinking about for quite a while, actually. And the opportunity came up this spring, and I realized that it was something that I really wanted to jump after.
Have you been in politics before?
No, I haven't. Really, my motivation comes from the way that I care about this community. I grew up in Leavenworth and was blessed to have so many people around me that supported me and helped me to go to school and get a great education. And then when I was looking to start a business here, I found that there was just wonderful opportunity to work in the trades. And as I've thought about those different things and been able to just wake up and look at these mountains and these rivers and this place, I have such a deep appreciation for what we have in Chelan County. And I want the same thing for my daughter, for all the kids that grow up here, is I want them to be able to experience the life that we've had and be blessed in their futures.
One of the things that a politician has to do is look for the future. And what do you see the future of this place that you love so much? Well, what's ahead of us?
Well, I think that just like every great entity has to focus on its strengths, as we go forward, we have to focus on the things that we do really well. I think that our tourist economy and the agriculture are the two strongest attributes we have in this county.
And they're both on the growing, actually. They're the economic leaders in the state reports that we get. Tourism is like number 2. Construction is number 1 right now. And, of course, the agriculture numbers are monstrous. They're huge.
Yeah, agriculture is something that's really special. I don't know if you saw it. There was an article that came out in the Wenatchee World just yesterday, I saw, where they talked about the unique way that this land is shaped and how we have the perfect summers that bring the heat but not too much rain, and how the rivers contribute to that in such a powerful way. And then the wintertime, it gets cold but not too cold, so the trees can go dormant but not actually die, and how this land is just so uniquely shaped for agriculture to thrive, unlike many places in the world. And so we have to use that. We have this natural gift right in front of us.
And yet, if you take a look at what's happening in our area, more and more land is going over to housing and industry for that matter, because that's what's required. That's what's needed for the place to grow. What do you think about the idea of growth and what it means? Inevitably, it means change.
Yeah, there is a lot of change that's coming, and it's hard also with that tourist industry because people come over here and they see what a wonderful place it is, and then they want to live here, or they want to have a second home here.
We just had a conversation about that. I won't say who was involved, but someone was saying, oh, I'm going to go to Seattle. And they said, well, the traffic's coming here. And they said, yeah, it's terrible. But that's what we say about the tourists coming here. Yeah, that's the locals' point of view, even though we don't really mean it.
Yeah, well, and there's so much balancing that has to be done with that. You talked about construction being such a big part of our economy, and I worked in the construction industry as well.
What did you do?
I was a stonemason.
Excellent.
So in that trades work, a large part of the work that I did was for second homes. And so everything has a balance to it. There's not just a black and white answer to what we do, especially when we're looking at the economy.
And especially when you're looking at politics, there are no black and white answers for those to answer those questions either. But you grew up here, correct? You were born here?
Yes, in Leavenworth.
And what schools did you go to?
I went to Cascade High School and also the middle school at Icicle River.
And for people that don't know you, after you graduated, what direction did your life take and what did you do with yourself as a professional?
Well, I went to Central Washington University. I got my music degree there, actually.
Oh, what do you play?
I played the clarinet and saxophone.
Excellent.
Yeah. And like most musicians, after college, I had to find a job to actually support myself.
In the horn section, in the woodwinds.
Yes. So I ended up working at a community action council. And that was a wonderful job because it exposed me to working with government contracts and looking how you can fundraise different money and put together so many things to bless the community. It actually was the first time I got to start interacting with the city as well. And I remember sitting in on some of those meetings, and that was probably the first spark that I realized this room that's filled with people with varying opinions, and there's tension, and there's agendas, and there's legislation to write, and there's so much, and it was exciting to me. I thought, wow, I want to be in here. I want to do these sorts of things.
And what kept you from politics until just now? Was this something that was just ruminating in your imagination?
Well, it was there as an inspiration, but honestly, one of the big reasons that my wife and I moved back to this area was our families. I remember at the time I had an aunt that had passed away suddenly, and my parents had taken her 2 teenage kids in, and my dad had been having some health issues, and my wife's parents had been out of the state for a while and were just moving back, and my wife and I cared deeply about our families, and we thought, we can help. And so that was the reason that I started the stonemasonry business. My dad was a mason as well. We enjoyed working together, and it was a great way to be able to support family.
Local politics, yes, you do have to run as a politician. Yes, you do have to get elected. But really, after that, it's a matter of service, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I have found service to be the most fulfilling thing in life. Even when I was operating my stonemasonry business, I had so many great opportunities to give to my community. The most powerful one was through working in ministry. I got to work with kids throughout the week, and that was sort of that fulfilling, a different part, because when you're working, and that is a great way to contribute to your life and to give to your family and all of that. But also, I wanted to find a way to serve and see things be better around me. So working with kids and getting to speak to them about how much they matter and how much they really have to give to the community, that focus on young people is an amazing thing.
The example we have in the Chelan County Commissioners, the men and women who serve, is that some of them have been there a while.
Yeah.
They're experienced. Yeah,
Keith Gaynor has been our commissioner for the last 16 years, and I've known Keith for most of my life. I think he is just a fabulous person, really excited to see what he's doing now, and he did a lot of good for our county. I wouldn't be running if Keith was going for another term, because when you have something good, there's no need to change it.
How do you think he did it?
I know that he listened incredibly well. I think that Keith is a person that has empathy, and empathy is different than just hearing what somebody said and being able to re-speak it. Empathy is when someone's opinion and the things that people are going through, actually, they resonate on your heart. So when you have to make a decision, people understand that you've really considered their position, and they know that there's a balancing act that goes in there, and so people feel that. I think that relationship really matters, and Keith was a relational person, and I've seen that in my own life, how relationships have been so different, and that makes me go, I want to serve more people.
Keith Gaynor was sitting right in that chair next to you the other day, and he said one of the things that was remarkable about his years of service was that items of consideration came before him as a commissioner that he never thought he would ever be making a decision about. So that means if you get elected, there's everything that you're thinking about, there's everything that you're dreaming about, there's everything that people are talking about, and then there is a whole list of things that you can't think of that will actually come before you.
Yeah, but isn't that the exciting part about it in some ways? Because the story isn't written yet. I mean, I know that is... It's hard. We like life to be predictable. We like to know what's going to come around the bend.
We don't want things to change. We really don't.
But life is always changing around us. That's really the only thing we don't have control over. But in the same respect, when we see things that we need to accomplish, when we see problems in front of us and we go, oh, well, there's just no way to get around that. That's where that excitement about the story not being written, that can motivate us to go, you know what, we can change our future. We can actually make this a better place.
Let's think about problems quietly amongst ourselves for a moment. We'll be back in a second and talk about what problems face the county commissioners.
You're listening to The Agenda on News Radio 560 KPQ and KPQ.com.
elevate your awareness. The Dean of Conservative Talks, heard weekday mornings at 9. Rush Limbaugh.
Radio 560 KPQ, it's 1:22. You're listening to The Agenda. I'm Michael Knight. My special guest is Zachary Miller. Zachary is a candidate for the Chelan County Commissioner's position number 2, a place where problems get solved, where problems get discussed. What problems do you think you'll be facing if you're elected?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems facing our county right now is affordable housing. We've talked about...
Might be number 1.
Yeah. We've talked about how our economy has driven more people to be here and how that tourist economy brings a lot of money into the cities and the towns, but it makes things incredibly expensive, and a lot of people can't afford to live near where they work, and that is a problem. And we've seen this all over the place. If you look at Chelan or in Leavenworth, it's a conversation that happens. There's land trusts out there trying to deal with it.
Do you think the same shortage that Wenatchee faces is faced every day in Leavenworth and Shasta and Kashmir?
Say the question again.
The shortage, the housing shortage that we faced in Wenatchee, is it faced every day in those towns?
Yeah, most people have to live pretty far out of the towns, and then they're driving in to be able to work.
So although we focus it as a Wenatchee problem, it's 2 counties wide, the problem that we're really facing.
Yeah, I think that it affects all of us. We live interconnected lives, and our problems do expand beyond that. But I think that to tackle this problem, we are going to have to collaborate. It can't just be the county or a city government or a land trust or an individual or a nonprofit. It's going to take us working together to accomplish.
Someone's going to have to marshal all those forces, because this is a problem that's been discussed on this show, if not twice a week since I've been here. I would bet at least that often. That's how often the subject comes up. But I have yet, and I've talked to a lot of people about this problem, I have yet to hear a substantive step 1 solution ever.
Well, I've seen the same things, too. I've been in different city council meetings where I've talked about how the communication breakdown and how we can't get this entity to work with us and this entity to work with us. But that was, again, part of my motivation for wanting to run is when I hear those things, I think, let me try. I want to get in there and try to get people to talk with one another.
Square one. So what type of players do we need besides state and private money, county money, city money? We need property.
Yeah, we do need property. Well, first of all,
for a project like this, we need property, good size.
Yeah, we do. And we need to be able to move on things quickly as well. And there was property outside of Leavenworth that was going to be developed for affordable housing. But through the planning process and everything that transpired, by the time they got around to building, everything was so expensive they couldn't afford to do it anymore.
The affordable housing got too expensive. That's hilarious, but it's also tragic.
I know. It is sad. But part of it will be recognizing this is something that we can't do alone. But that's part of what I've been able to work on, even at my current job, is I would say the biggest thing I do is problem solve. Tall Timber is a retreat center, but it's nestled up against Glacier Peak Wilderness. And so what that means is that we have to deal with things like the roads becoming impassable because too much snow, or you have 150 people that are there from the west side and the power goes out. And so how do you reassign staff to be able to take care of the needs that are right in front of us? How do you calm people to help them to understand that they're not in an emergency situation, just different? All these different forces are part of my job, and one of the reasons that I want to take that and I want to move into a position of serving more people is I find that when that happens, I feel more calm, my mind thinks more clearly, and it's all about how do we solve the thing in front of us. And so, one, you can't take your foot off the gas. We know this is something that needs to happen, and so I think that the communication with the different people, the different entities involved is essential. And it's going to mean knocking on doors and being in meetings and not stopping until we find some ways that we're going to collaborate to do this together.
Well, I think all those things are facts. I think that's true. Let's talk about problem number 2 before we run out of time. How would you address problem number 2? First of all, what is it?
Problem number 2. Well, I know that one of the biggest conflicts right now, different issues have different weights, but one that has a lot of emotion behind it is definitely cannabis growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, again, one of the biggest improvements that we need to see from the county in this respect is communication. Because you can look at this issue from two sides. And if you look at it from the grower side, what I'm hearing is they felt like they were going to have a chance to move forward. I don't think that people would have invested a lot of money if they didn't feel like we're going to have opportunity to continue, even if those restrictions are going to come that are going to change things, but we're not going to be asked to leave. I've also heard from those people that they want to be considered growers and part of that agriculture that we value so much around here. And the decisions that were made, we already said it here, perception is reality. Regardless of if the decisions were made we're not kicking people out, the perception for those growers was that we're not welcome here anymore. And I think that anything that devalues a person and makes them feel like we don't want you to be a part of our community is a problem. And so I don't know what kind of communication happened with them beforehand. I know that the commissioners talked a lot with the people and the people that were opposed to this and the people that live in these communities where grows were happening, and that's important. You have to talk to everybody. But I wonder what kind of communication happened there, because now we're seeing the negative effects where they've turned around and sued the county, and that takes a knock against our stewardship because now we're spending money on things that I don't think any of us want to spend money on. We want to figure out how to live in harmony. So,
are you saying this could have been negotiated before the lawsuits?
I'm not sure. I wasn't in the room with those different things.
Well, I don't know the answer to that either.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that. I just know that I would have liked to have tried. And again, that's where I think empathy makes a real difference, because what I'm hearing from those growers is that they feel devalued.
We're just about out of time. Our guest is Zachary Miller. He's a candidate for the Chelan County Commissioner's position number 2. He's new to the world of politics, but he's not new to the Valley. So ask your constituents, your future constituents, for the vote. Ask them to vote for you.
Absolutely. I'm running for Chelan County Commissioner to ensure that my daughter and your children have a bright future. As your commissioner, I will champion affordable housing, grow and attract sustainable tourism, and fight every day for our environment. Our livelihood is dependent on us coming together as a community to solve these hard problems, hear many voices, and find a way for everyone to live and work in our incredible county. And I respectfully ask for people's vote.
That's